He confessed to his wife's murder 7 times, but prosecutors just dropped all the charges against an Austin man accused of killing his estranged wife 3 days before Christmas in 2010.
And now the victim's family tells KXAN investigator Shannon Wolfson they want answers and justice for Sylvia Reyes Holt.
Less than 2 weeks after police found Sylvia Reyes Holt dead in her home, her estranged husband, Jonathan Holt, told police he killed her, said he'd researched how to kill a diabetic, injected her with an overdose of insulin, and left her to die. Case seemed open and shut, but we discovered things aren't always what they seem.
She was very sweet, very kind, always wanted to help others.
Sylvia Reyes was one of 4 siblings in an extraordinarily close family.
It feels like we're complete when we come and see her. But, you know, there's always something missing when we're anywhere else.
On her brother's birthday, the family gathered, as they often do, at Sylvia's grave.
We were very close. We spent a lot of time together. We miss those times. Things are not the same. We know she's there. It's just hard not having her around.
New overnight, officials are investigating a suspicious death after finding a woman's body in a South Austin home.
On December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas in 2010, police and EMS responded to a welfare call at Sylvia's South Austin home and found her dead. The crime scene was suspicious, but police weren't sure she'd been murdered until an autopsy listed her cause of death as homicide by strangulation. 2 weeks later, police interviewed Sylvia's estranged husband, Jonathan Holt, who immediately confessed to killing Sylvia, a diabetic, with an insulin overdose. Turns out the autopsy didn't show any extra insulin in Sylvia's body. The confession simply wasn't true. Why in the world would someone confess to a crime, a murder, that they did not commit?
It's just beyond anybody's imagination how that could occur. But the truth is, it actually occurs fairly often.
Charlie Baird is Jonathan Holt's defense attorney. He says Holt was lying when he told police he killed Sylvia that first time and 6 additional times over the course of the investigation. Baird said Holt was being compliant and just trying to please the officers. It is still hard for me to believe that someone would confess 7 times to a murder he did not commit because he's a pleaser.
It is difficult to understand, and you know, that's why we would have had a psychologist come in and explain that phenomenon to the jury.
But there may never be a jury. Defense attorneys were pushing for a speedy trial. So after 2.5 years, prosecutors here at the Travis County District Attorney's Office quietly dropped the murder charge against Jonathan Holt.
I think that they rushed to judgment, and certainly I can understand why, but they rushed to judgment against Jonathan Holt when they should have waited for the DNA testing to be done and completed.
The first round of DNA testing didn't exclude Holt, but more sophisticated testing revealed 2 unknown male DNA profiles, not Jonathan Holt's, found on Sylvia's underwear.
So at that point, the state says, well, we've got a lot of confessions, they're all false, and now we've got DNA that establishes that whether they killed her or not, we don't know, but she was certainly in the company of 2 different men shortly before her death.
Which is reasonable doubt, right?
Right.
Which would be a reason why the state would decide this isn't a case we want to take to a jury.
That's right.
Off camera, prosecutors told us this case is still under investigation. While the DNA may cast doubt on Holt's guilt, they say they will not rule out refiling murder charges against him. The fact is, there is a murderer or murderers walking the streets of our community.
Absolutely. And the problem is they have been out there for 2.5 years now.
I can see where they're coming from, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. You just don't say you did something and not. My sister was so forgiving that I honestly feel that she's probably in heaven saying, hey guys, it's okay. But you know, for us here, you know, we need some closure and justice.
This case will now be going to the APD Cold Case Unit, who will start reviewing the evidence from the beginning. One problem with the DNA results is that the samples were so small they could only get a partial profile, which means it will be very difficult to make a 100% match to anyone. Online right now, we have some interesting information about false confessions, and we'll talk more about that tonight on KXAN News at 10.
And if you have a tip for our Investigates team, email us at investigates@kxan.com. You can also call our tip line. It's 512-703-5255.